everyone, and welcome back to the Tent of Abraham. I'm Tamir Kreisman from Jerusalem, Israel, and we continue with Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer. We are in chapter 50. This is 50e. We are still on the topic of the book of Esther, and this one is called Sleepless Nights. Hallelu et Adonai kol goyim, shabechu kol haomim, ki gavar alenu chasdo, ve'emet Adonai la'olam, hallelujah. That very night, we continue right where we left off from last week. That very night, the king's sleep wandered, as said in Esther 6:1. Balayla hahu nadida shnat hamelech. On that night, the king's sleep was disturbed or disrupted. And he ordered to bring the book of records, the chronicles, and they were read before the king. The word nadida literally means to wander, like to wander off into the wilderness. This is not necessarily a positive connotation because it means that there's something out of place, right? It's like, where do I go? You know, kind of like, what's his face? The last guy? He doesn't know, wondering what is going on. Okay, so we can see this same language after Cain killed Abel and God judged him from Genesis 4:12. When you till the soil, it will not continue to give its strength to you. You shall be a wanderer and an exile in the land. So again, nadida. Listen to the language in Hebrew. Ki ta'avod et ha'adama, lo tosif tet kocha lach, na vanad. It's like a seesaw almost, right? Where do I go? Na vanad tiye ba'aretz. Nadida, na vanad, same word. Aimlessly, without a specific destination, come what may. And so, that very night, the king's sleep wandered. His sleep, where was it taken? The King of Kings, Melech Malcham Lachim, the Holy One, blessed be He, as well as the sleep of the king on earth. In other words, God and the king Achashverosh. Like we taught many times in the book of Esther, whenever it says the king, only the king, it is a hint towards God. Unless it says King Achashverosh, then it's obviously focusing on him. Now remember, God is the one who appoints kings and rulers in this world. And if God can't sleep because his children have been scheduled for execution, you better believe neither will the earthly king who gave the green light. Makes sense. So King Achashverosh was terrified and woke from his sleep. These are all hints, of course, as it says in Psalms 121:4, Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Israel. Behold, the guardian of Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. Okay, these are all metaphorical. And furthermore, when God wakes up from his sleep, it is to exact judgment and vengeance. Psalms 78:65, and the Lord awoke as one asleep, as a mighty man shouting from wine, right? So, what would wake a man up from his sleep in a fright? A dream, a really bad dream, a nightmare, right? And who controls what we see in our dreams? Not us. And he, Achashverosh, saw in his dream, what did he see? He saw in his dream Haman coming with a sword to kill him. He was frightened and woke from his dream. Achashverosh then called to the sons of Haman, where were, in the middle of the night, who were serving as his scribes, meaning they always had to be around Achashverosh, at least a few of them. They had 10 sons in the book of Esther, but it says that Haman was actually, he had many children from many wives, but Zeresh and these 10 kids, they were like his main, familia, if you will. So they were serving as his scribes, telling them to read from the chronicles. So Achashverosh wakes up with the fright, go find the chronicles, read them to me. And they opened the book to the very spot where it said that Mordechai saved the king's life, informing on the two servants, Bigtana and Teresh. Those are the guys who wanted to kill him, right? The ones who wanted to poison the king. From Esther 6:2, it says, and it was found written that Mordechai had reported about Bigtana and Teresh, two chamberlains of the king, of the guards of the threshold, who had sought to lay a hand on King Achashverosh. But they, Haman's sons, did not want to read it. And so the writing was read on its own, As said in Esther 6:1, on that night the king's sleep was disturbed, and he ordered to bring the book of the records, the chronicles, and they were read before the king. Ve'yu nikra'im lifnei hamelech. It does not say kol'im or kru'im before the king, but rather nikra'im before the king. In other words, they didn't do it on their own anyway. Okay, so now pay attention because you likely have not heard this next part, and this is fascinating. Everything that happens in this world, as we know, this is a tikkun, a rectification. And this is by default. Every single thing that you do, good, bad, anything that comes upon, it's all part of the rectification of this world. That's the reason, right? Everything from the Garden of Eden going backwards, now going up again. From the sin in the Garden of Eden and the expulsion, since death has come into the world, we have been in a major deficit, working our way back to Adam before the sin. Everything. We have learned already that Mordechai did a tikkun for his ancestral lineage, right? From Shimi ben Gera, who cursed at King David and threw stones at him and his family, to King Saul from the tribe of Benjamin, who defied God's direct commands and brought back the spoils of Amalek. And the worst of that is that he let Agag, the king of Amalek, live. And this is where Haman comes from. So who did Esther do a tikkun for? Who is she connected to? Who do we say Esther carries? Whose sparks does Esther carry? Sarah, our mother, Sarai Menu. Both were the single most beautiful women in the world at their time. Both were prophetesses. Both were responsible for the continuity of our people. And the hint in the text, it says that Sarah lived 127 years and Ahasuerus governed 127 provinces, 120 before Esther. He received the extra 7 on Esther's merit, 127. You see, okay. Now, who did Sarah do a tikkun from herself? Did Sarah need a tikkun? She did not need a tikkun. But who did she do a tikkun for? Only someone who came before her, right? Like we said, this was Chava, Eve, the first woman. And also, it says, like we said, again, the Midrash said this, Sarah was the most beautiful woman in the world. All the women in the world were like monkeys compared to Sarah. They looked like monkeys compared to the beauty of Sarah. And Sarah looked like a monkey compared to Eve. God fashioned her, right? So these were kind of like the levels. And Esther was the most beautiful woman in the world at the time. That's why Ahasuerus shows her. She had chen, internal and external. It kind of radiated outwards. And so as long as the world turns, until after Mashiach comes and the world is completely rectified, because Mashiach comes to complete the rectification. The world isn't rectified and then all of a sudden Mashiach comes. He comes for like that last push to gather Israel, that everybody does tshuva, and then building the temple, everybody gives the korbanot, we do a perfect tikkun for the world, then we move on to the next phase. So, like we said, so long as the world turns, until after Mashiach comes and the world is completely rectified, we are all, Jew and Gentile, are doing a tikkun for Adam and Eve, in one way or another, whether we like it or not. Now look, Esther is Eve and Haman is the serpent. Meaning Esther had a spark of Eve. Sarah, Eve, that's your connection over there. And Haman, Amalek, comes from the root of the serpent. The serpent just wants to destroy. That's it. That's it. Everything that we are doing that is good, the serpent wants to make sure that it is corrupt. So, the worst of 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 the worst, Amalek, right? Amalek from Edom, boom. That's the worst. So, you have the root of the serpent. And this is the original feud from Genesis 3:15. I shall place enmity between you and between the woman, between the serpent and between the woman, Haman, Esther, and between your seed and between her seed. He will crush your head and you shall bite his heel. And with what did the serpent use to cause Eve to fall? What did we learn? It was with the grape, the vine, right? As she squeezed the cluster and made wine. That is a rhyme. And what would Esther cause Haman to fall with? Wine. She got him drunk for 2 days straight, that at the end, once he realized he had been played, He literally fell on her bed, and when the king saw that, it was to the gallows with him. But wait, it gets better. Remember how we just read that Haman's sons didn't want to read the words of praise of Mordecai, since they obviously knew that Mordecai was the bane of their father's existence. So like, yo, that guy's giving you trouble? All right. Then the text says it was read to him. By who? Not by them. Not by them. In last class, when Haman killed Esther's messenger to Mordecai, they began to command angels to pass along the messages. Remember? Specifically Michael and Gabriel, as the text said, it was told to Mordecai. No more was the messenger named. Well, now the writing was read to Achashverosh. Michael the archangel took the form of one of the sons of Haman and opened up the book at exactly that place and read it to Achashverosh. So how does Michael fit in with all this? Because you can't just have like outside players. What is his connection to this? One of the names that has been given to him is a reference, and that is Hapalit, the fugitive, or the escapee. He who escaped from what? The first time we saw this name, Hapalit, the fugitive, is in Genesis 14:13. And the fugitive came and told Abram, the Hebrew, and he was living in the plain of Mamre, the Amorite, the brother of Eshcol and the brother of Aner, who were Abram's confederates. So this Palit came and told Abram, hey, those kings, the four kings, they kidnapped your brother and your nephew Lot, right? So vayavo hapalit vayaged leAvram. Many of the commentaries say that it was in fact Og, the literal refugee from the flood, who was given to Abraham by Nimrod after he walked through the fire for 3 days. But in our case, and in this case, the book of Esther, the context of the book of Esther from Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer, it was Michael, the archangel. So again, why is he here? Refugee, angel, explain this to me, I will. If you recall, way back when we discussed how Satan became Satan, the very embodiment, spiritually speaking, of evil and impurity. He became this. He was not created this way. He has a 4-letter name, Samech Mem, and then El. He is referred to as Samech Mem. If I say Samech Mem, half the people will be like, what are you talking about? Samech Mem and then El. Sama and then El. We don't say this name together. Good luck with that. Don't do it. So he's referred to as the Samech Mem, as to not pronounce his name, because no human being wants that kind of attention. He was the highest ranking angel in the heavens, as mentioned in Ezekiel 28. You were a cherub of great measure that covers, and I gave that to you. You are on the mount of the sanctuary of God. You walked among the fiery stones. You are perfect in your ways from the day you were created until wrongdoing was found in you. Found in him because he asked for it. When he saw that man was going to sin on his own volition and the evil deeds that would be done throughout time, he told God that there needs to be a fall guy for the sake of man later being able to be redeemed. He volunteered to be that fall guy. In the end of days, even Satan will be redeemed, as the Holy One, blessed be he. It says we'll give him a shchita kshira, a kosher shechting, with a kosher blade. That's the angel of death will be shechted, and that's why Bila Mavet Lanetzach, when death will be removed from the world, cutting him in half. Removing the Samech Mem, the first half of his name, which spells Sam is drug, literally meaning the drug of death, the elixir of death, which was brought to the world, while the pure half of his name, El, divine, remains. So he removes the Sam Hamavit, the death drug, and what remains is El. So when Satan became Satan, he was literally cast down. Boom. Because you can't be in God's inner circle when you choose to have that kind of impurity. That's why it separates him when you read the book of, Job, right? And the sons of God were on this side and that, and Satan was among them. In other words, though he is a Ben Elohim, he's not considered among them. He has a very, very different job, right? So when Satan became Satan, he was literally cast down. And as he was descending, he grabbed onto the wings of Michael and began to drag him down with him until God intervened and let go, let go, let go, let go, and shook him loose. So that's how Michael got the nickname, the Palit, the fugitive, because he escaped from the clutches of Satan pulling him down. And this is why even Michael came full circle to assist in the rectification of the world, as he is the spiritual high priest of Israel. Just as the high priest of Israel brings the animal offerings before God, our high priest, right, the Kohen Gadol, brings the animal offerings before God. Michael, the archangel, the supernal high priest of Israel, brings the souls of Israel before God, presenting them before God. He is the main public defender of Israel before God, not to be confused with Israel's guardian angel, because we have no guardian angel. All the nations do, and they each have names, but we are directly under God. Michael is just an added bonus, as said in Daniel 12:1. Now at that time, Michael, the great prince who stands over the children of your people, over your people, will be silent, and it'll be a time of distress and all that good stuff that we're, headed there right now. So now we have the players in this scenario: the woman as the protagonist, the serpent as the antagonist, the vine, the grape, as the catalyst, and an angel as a witness. Don't you love Torah? So, once the life-saving deeds of Mordechai had been read before the king, right after he woke up from a nightmare where Haman was trying to kill him, immediately, says our text, the king said to his servants, "Summon Haman." To which his servants replied, "Behold, he's already waiting outside." What? So we can see this in verses 4 and 5. And the king said, "Who's in the court?" And Haman had come to the outside court of the king's house to petition the king to hang Mordechai on the gallows that he had prepared for him. So Haman was coming to kill Mordechai. The king had a dream that Haman was coming to kill him. And the king's servants said to him, "Behold, Haman is standing in the court." And the king said, "Let him enter." I can only imagine. I had a very vivid dream that this dude was trying to kill me. My chronicles have been opened precisely to the person who saved me, meaning someone that I can trust. And Haman just so happens to be standing outside. Interesting. Now, the verse tells us why Haman was there: to kill Mordechai. He didn't know about the king's dream and the memory that was being read. And the king didn't know that Haman wanted to ask him to kill Mordechai. Because again, the king can't say no to Haman about anything except for one thing. We'll get to that. It's like a 2,600-year-old Persian soap opera is what is going on here. And he just so happened, and he got amnesia, and he's got an evil twin, right? All this crazy stuff, but it actually happened. To this, the king said, "For it is true what I had seen in my dream. He has come now to kill me." Now, not necessarily come with the sword to kill him, right? But he has come to put an end to me. Aside from the obvious of why he would think that, not only because of his dream and the chronicles, but there's something we all might have missed. And that is what Esther told Mordechai in Esther 4:11. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces know that any man or woman who comes to the king into the inner court who is not summoned there, is but in one law for him to be put to death, right? Okay. You do not call upon the king without a personal invitation. And here is Haman just showing up with all his chutzpah. Furthermore, it was in the middle of the night. What the hell is he doing there in the middle of the night? These are not visiting hours. Now, it just so happened to be that Haman had special privileges, as we had discussed over the past few classes, since he was the richest and most influential individual in Ahasuerus's kingdom, and Ahasuerus kept him close on purpose, lest he turn on him and take his throne. These privileges did mean that Haman could actually show up unannounced and without proper invitation from the king. So in other words, hey buddy, we're buddies, whatever you want, you take it, it's all good. But what gave him away was in fact the hour. Just as the king woke up, that's when Haman was there in the middle of the night. Since Haman could not wait until morning to come to the king and say, I want to kill Mordechai. This is Amalek. I don't care almost what happens to me. I will disturb the king's slumber, but I need to get this done. What? What do I need to get done? I need to kill a Jew. I hate Jews. All this is Amalek. We see it in the world. We see it here in Israel, Supreme Courts and all. Meaning he wanted to accelerate the destruction of Israel. As a result, God hastened the redemption. It got as close as it possibly could until, if it goes just a little bit more, there's no more Israel. This is how God plays it. God hastened the redemption as a result, as he woke up Ahasuerus at the hour as well from a nightmare that this guy's coming to kill him. Behold, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Baruch Hashem. And that's why the crazier things get, good. They're not going to subside. The hatred towards Israel is not going to be, okay, maybe we can. There is no peace. No peace. Okay? You must understand. This craziness is coming and it's only going to accelerate. We would be wise to pray for its acceleration to hasten the redemption. That's all. Our commentators said that at this point, Ahasuerus basically told Haman, I know why you came here at this hour. And that is the reason you have been waiting outside and have yet to enter, because you were waiting for the perfect moment to kill me and take my throne. Meaning waiting outside. You've been biding your time. You've been seeing what's going on over here. In the meantime, I've been elevating you. You saw that too. You know that I don't trust you. You obviously don't trust me. We actually hate each other because evil doesn't like evil. They have specific common goals, but they will eat each other. No problem. And so the king said to his servants, bring him to me. And Haman entered before the king. Dun, dun, dun. Cliffhanger. Okay, so that's our class for today. But wait. It is short and sweet. I know. I do hope you enjoyed it. We're going to pick it up next class. But I want to discuss this. This is more important right now. Pesach is upon us. And oh, what a time this is. This Pesach is upon us. The time of our freedom. The time of our redemption. Now, before we go, I just wanted to say something regarding the uniqueness of this specific time. Meaning this time, this year, right now, specifically now, okay? Not last year or the year before, now. I am aware that once every 20 years, Pesach falls on Motzei Shabbat. And this actually happened, though, 4 years ago in 2022. So the fact that this is happening again in 4 years and won't happen for another 20 years is extremely rare. Not to mention that we also had a Purim Meshulash, a triple Purim this year as well, and it fell in the middle of Shabbat. So it was before, during, and after Shabbat. It was kind of stretched out, especially for those in walled cities, meaning in Jerusalem, we celebrated an extra day. As we discussed in our Calling All Jews videos, when it comes to all the timelines, if you haven't seen that, please just watch the videos, for goodness sakes. It's everything that's happening right now, including timelines. When it came to the timelines, the 7 years of Gog and Magog were to begin in 2022 and will end in 2028, when the understanding is then we will have the resurrection of the dead. That's it. So we're talking about within 4 to 5 years, everything is done. This is in according with the Chafetz Chaim and even the Lubavitcher Rebbe. We also know that everything significant in our history took place on Erev Pesach, on this day between the 14th and the 15th, from when Abraham defeated the 4 kings, to when the angels came and told him about Isaac, to when Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, and when Isaac was born, and when Jacob received the blessing from Isaac, until the Exodus, and so on. Even the book of Esther revolves around Pesach, this night of Pesach, as the night that Ahasuerus was awakened from his dream was also Erev Pesach, this night. And the list goes on, but you understand the point. This year, considering we are in the middle of the Geulah, exactly 3.5 years into it, we have been blessed with a wonderful opportunity orchestrated by God for this very time. We have 3 meals on Shabbat representing the patriarchs. Isaac is in the evening as Shabbat enters. Abraham is in the morning after the morning prayers, and Jacob is for the third meal before Shabbat leaves us. Most people do the first 2. You would obviously be wise to do all 3. It's shalosh seudot, right? Meaning you can't just do the third one. You need 1 and then 2 and then 3. They only work together like that. Now there's a very special prayer that is said before the third meal, and it goes like this. Now all of them have L'Shem Yichud Kudsha B'Richu, right? They all do. They also have Atkinu Sodatai, will prepare a meal of faith. They all have a different thing, and each one has a different invitation. But I want to read the third and the fourth, because the third people hardly do, the fourth nobody does. So, for the namesake of the Holy One, blessed be He and His Shekhinah. This is what we read in the third meal. In judgment and mercy and judgment. Remember, for the namesake of the Holy One, blessed be He and His Shekhinah. In judgment and mercy and judgment, to unify the letters of Yud and of Hey with the letters of Vav and Hey, with complete unity for the sake of all of Israel. Everything we do is B'Shem Kol Yisrael. Behold, I personally, Anochi ba, I personally come to fulfill the commandment of the third feast of Shabbat, to correspond with Jacob, the father of 70 Nefesh, singular, right? By whose merit we will be saved from the wars of Gog and Magog. By the power of the auspiciousness of this time and these 3 meals, may we be rectified that which we blemished when we were eating not for the sake of the commands and in forbidden foods. And may the pleasantness of our Lord, of the Lord our God be upon us, and the work of our hands establish for us, and the work of our hands establish it. That's what we say for the third meal, but the thing is, like we said, there is a fourth meal. The one we have after Shabbat, after the queen leaves us, or rather while the queen is leaving us. And this is called Melave Malka, escorting the queen. Now we know that the patriarchs represent 3 out of the 4 elements, right? Abraham is water. Isaac is fire. Jacob is wind. And they stand as the legs of the holy Merkavah to establish God's reign on earth. But who is the 4th leg in this throne, representing the 4th element? That would be David, the Lord's anointed and eternal King of Israel, representing earth. And together they are Captain Planet. Okay, you get the idea. And so the 4th meal, which even less people have than the 3rd meal, has another name. And this is called Seudat Mashiach, the Feast of Mashiach. That is what we do it. That is what we do it for. And the prayer we say before that meal, the 4th meal, after Shabbat, goes something like this. Prepare the feast of perfect faith, the 4th feast of David, King Mashiach. For the namesake of the Holy One, blessed be He and His Shekhinah, in judgment and mercy and judgment, to unify the letters of Yud and of Hey with the letters of Vav and Hey with complete unity for the sake of all of Israel. Behold, I personally come to fulfill the commandment of the 4th feast of Shabbat, to escort the queen and escort the additional nefesh therein. We have a neshama yetera. On Shabbos, we get additional spirituality. That's why Shabbat, you learn as much Torah as possible. 1 hour of Torah on Shabbat is the equivalent of 1,000 hours during the week. Remember what we discussed here when Israel were going to enter the land, the Torah came to God, said now that they're going to enter the land, they got to be worried. Each man is going to be worried in his vineyard and in his fields. They're going to work all day long. When are they going to get time to study Torah? And God said, do not worry. That is why I gave them Shabbat. They can't do any of the stuff over there, and they're just going to focus on you. This is not to say you should not learn Torah during the week. You absolutely should. Don't go a day without. But Shabbat, that should be your primary focus. So again, behold, I personally come to fulfill the commandment of the 4th feast of Shabbat, to escort the queen and escort the additional nefesh therein. The aspect of chaya, life, nefesh ruach chaya, the nefesh ruach neshama chaya. So we right now have the three, but we receive the chaya, the level above that on Shabbat, and we are now escorting it out, which departs from us now, and to retain a blessing upon all our meals over the 6th day of Chol, the 6 days of non-holiness, mundaneness, whatever, you get the idea, but to keep upon them from the holiness of Shabbat. In other words, we're trying to draw the holiness of Shabbat as much as we can throughout the week. And so by the power of the auspiciousness of this time, keep and protect us like the apple of your eye, shamrenu keishon bat ayin, and hide and cover us with the shade of your wings, and save us from the grievances of the beatings of the grave. That's a whole other thing, chibut kever. This is stuff of nightmares. You would wish it was nightmares. And awaken our nefesh, ruach, and neshama, nefesh, ruach, neshama, within holy dwellings, that when we are awake, it be within holy dwellings. And may the pleasantness of our Lord, our God, be upon us, and the work of our hands establish for us, and the work of our hands establish it. This year, ladies and gentlemen, God willing, most Jews in Israel will have one form of a Seder or another, whether it be right or not right, doesn't matter. I mean, obviously it matters very, very much. But a lot of secular people, they don't have proper Seders. They don't necessarily clean their houses for Pesach, which again, this is from the Torah. But what is everybody going to be doing? They're going to be sitting down for the 4th meal. The Seder that may only begin after Shabbat as the queen leaves us. You are not allowed to start the Seder or even preparation for the Seder until you say Havdalah. This year, for the first time, most of Israel in the land of Israel will have Seudat Mashiach, the feast of Mashiach, for the sake of the coming of Mashiach, at the very halfway point of the Geulah. 4 years ago was just the beginning. Now is when it's at. Use this opportunity to ask for the final redemption in great mercy, and be very aware of the time that we are in. So many things since the time, like I wrote this yesterday, and more things are coming up, but whatever. Akol b'dei shamayim. So as always, please focus on everything you do for the sake of heaven and the unification of the Holy One, blessed be He, and His Shekhinah. Okay, all together. So God may fulfill His prophecy at this time from Isaiah 54:7, where He is saying to the firstborn son, to His firstborn son Israel, who was and is all but broken, for a small moment have I forsaken you, and with great mercy will I gather you. Berega katan azavtich, uberachamim gdolim akabtzech. And so until next time, whenever that may be, may the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob bless those who bless Israel and damn those who curse us. So have a wonderful rest of the week. Have a Shabbat Shalom, and have a Chag Pesach Kasher V'Sameach. Bye-bye.